Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money a resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com. NWA number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. Hey, it's Conrad, the mortgage guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Merry Christmas, Connie. Man, we're kicking things off. I was just hoping in your little playing on the ones and twos, your little DJ box, that you would have some Christmas themes or something along those lines. But anywho, Merry Christmas to you and all the crew and all the listeners and the My World folks. And we've been plugging along this 2025, excited for 2026. But yeah, buddy, I have no idea where you're going to jump off into. Had a lot of football this weekend over the last 7 days. You were instrumental in just stirring up a hornet's nest with me. All kinds of fun with that. But roll tide. I'll just get it right out of the way. For you non-football fans, this is not for you. But for you football fans, let's just give Conrad Thompson's Alabama Crimson Tide and James Madison and Tulane folks, thanks for participating.
Is that better? You like a little Christmas music in the background?
I didn't hear. I can't hear it. Shoot, I can't hear.
No. Well, the rest of the world's being treated to some delicious Christmas music. Hey, listen, I appreciate that. Alabama, once again, has pissed a lot of people off online.
Oh,
I'm sure you saw in the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter, Alabama had been given their last rites on social media.
A few self-righteous folks got out there and got bold with their in the age of instantaneous information. Wow. It's hard to imagine. Just yesterday, Cody was literally not just saying this, but not figuratively, but literally, Cody was strutting in front of the big screen TV. I said, Codes, there's a lot of football to be played here. This is the NFL. It's football. Oh, no, Dad. But same with Alabama. And it wasn't, roll tide, man. They really shoved it up some folks' ass, Conrad. God, I can't believe some of these quote-unquote professionals. Are they called grifters too, Connie?
That's a great question, isn't it? Because in the pro wrestling space, if you are, you have a voice and you have a platform, then therefore you are a grifter. So that is interesting. Is Brandon Walker for Barstool Sports a grifter? I'm going to say no. But boy, they had him. I mean, he was like, this is the worst Alabama team. They're going to win by 50, blah, blah, blah. But he at least owned it. There's a whole lot of other people who were fraidy cats who just tweet and delete, which I think is hilarious. But
I didn't know that.
Somehow, some way, Alabama remains alive. And I don't know that you know this, Jeff, but Alabama played in the Rose Bowl the very first time on January 1st, 1926. And 100 years later to the day, they'll be back in the same building playing Indiana. How wild is that?
Now let's think about something. In 1926, how did that team get from Tuscaloosa to LA? Did they fly?
I love the way your brain works.
How was commercial air back in those days?
That's a great question. You've been wrestling a long time. How was it back in 26? Yeah.
Well, here we go. Well, that is one of the things about the grifter comments. I chuckled at so many of folks that, because I did, you got the hornet's nest stirred up, and I would look and hey, Jeff, sit this one out. You're not qualified. We don't want to hear your opinion. We already know that you're biased. Just like kind of those comments that I'm thinking, who is qualified to speak in these days in wrestling? It has turned into quite the almost sideshow in a way. I got a buddy of mine used to sit third row in Nashville ringside at standing reservation for years. I think he missed, I don't know, only very few shows. Show all the Andy Kaufman, but he kept coming all through the end. But I mean, he saw them all: Road Warriors, Fabs, Turnaway, Sellouts, blah 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 blah. But he always said that he said, Jeff, I'm a people watcher first. I'm a wrestling watcher second. He would come out and watch the people. Now, all of a sudden, social media is almost turned into people watching. Like, what the hell is going on here? Anyhow,
there's a lot of people watching going down on New Year's Day, 1926, as Alabama traveled from Tuscaloosa to the Rose Bowl to play Washington. That's 2,800 miles by train. And on the way back, it was a celebratory trip. They stopped at different places along the way and teams celebrated Alabama's victory. But that game is known as the game that changed the South. I think that's when before the SEC was the SEC, Alabama went out there and said, put some respect on our name. So yeah, they started traveling in December of 1925 and played the game on New Year's Day. But I just think it's awfully fitting. I mean, how often do we hear about 100-year anniversary of anything? But it's the 100-year anniversary of the game, and Alabama's back in the same building against Indiana. Gimmick attorney Mike Dawkins, I think, is headed that way. He has been a frustrated Indiana fan forever. So considering that, they're the number one team in the land and they've got the Heisman and they're playing in the Rose Bowl, I'm happy for him. I myself am going to be flipping some steaks around on the grill and watching at home, Jeff.
So they play on January 1st. So that'll be
New Year's Day. Yes,
Thursday.
Sir.
That's
3 or 4 o'clock our time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. Well, Dawkins is I can't say he's a good loser. That didn't come out right. He's a good sport when his and your boy Cassio, when the Indianapolis Colts QB went down with the Achilles, Dawkins said something about because Halliburton, the pacer, he went down with Achilles. So good luck to those guys. But I think Roll Tide, going back to, man, who do they play? How's it going to turn out? It's going to be interesting. They're a good team, but I would not want to be facing this Alabama team. I just wouldn't.
Wait, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think Indiana wins, but I don't think it's a blowout. But you're saying you're picking Alabama?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Do you think it's Alabama, Georgia for the third time this season in the championship game?
I think there is a very good shot at that. I do. And so buddy of mine's a huge Ohio State fan. If you look at their schedule, Conrad, I think they had like a lot of bye weeks and then the champ, and now they're off another 3 or 4 weeks. That's college kids way out of their routine. I don't think that plays well for those guys. So I think Alabama, and you know better than me as far as like the personnel, but boy, oh boy, they looked really strong second half against a good OU team and well coached and all that. I think there's a very good shot. All the time off that Ohio State and Indiana and the other two, Texas Tech and
Oregon are playing.
Those 4 teams, quite the break. It's not like usual that you win your college championship and then you go play in a bowl game. This year, the portal, all the pay involved, all the coaching carousels. I think it'd be much more challenging to keep the team together. But your Crimson Tide has had that cadence and they're rolling, and it's not like they had any kind of break. So yeah, I think I do. I think Bama beats Indiana.
Could you believe Oklahoma brought out 50 Cent to start the fourth quarter?
What a show those folks.
And I didn't know this, but I guess that's the Friday practice song for Alabama. So it actually went the other way. They play many men on Fridays at Alabama practices. So all the players were hype on the Alabama side.
And
the exact song they played to get Oklahoma hyped up was the Alabama practice hype song.
What's the quarterback for Alabama? Simpson?
Ty Simpson, yeah.
They supposedly there's a clip going around. Cody told me about this.
He knows every word.
Knows every word to it.
Yeah. And that song came out before he was born, I'm sure. I mean, it's like a 20-year-old song.
And buddy, oh boy, man, love competition. Love competition.
Look, can we just talk about the absurdity? Every year there's all these people who represent a school or have a favorite conference that's not one of the power conferences, and they always say, oh, what about? And we got that this year with fucking James Madison and Tulane, and it went exactly how you and I expected, did it not?
And so, man, it's really, it is tough. Like, I mean, it's just so hard but they don't have it right going to this 12-team format.
No, it's still way wrong. And the calendar's the worst part of it.
Yeah.
Like, how can you have signing day? The idea that Michigan, I mean, you want to talk about their head coach screwing assistants? The university screwed those kids because they knew that this story was happening, and they waited until after signing day so they could say, got you, bitch, you signed. So, I mean, it's like, what? College football needs a commissioner. And I think we both agree, without even talking about it, who it should be.
Oh,
it should be Nick Saban.
I love it. Boy, oh boy. But I think that dude has got it right. He got to an age, and what's his wife's name?
Miss Terry.
Yeah, but I think him and Miss Terry sat down and said, let's just ka-ching and let me work a couple of days a week and not really worry about anything. And I don't think he takes he don't want that stress.
You know, in the last 30 days, what all he's bought? He bought a Toyota dealership in Montgomery. He bought a Lexus dealership in Montgomery. He bought the Nashville Predators, and he bought the Perdido Beach Resort 5 miles from my beach house in Orange Beach, Alabama. It has the #1 restaurant in the area, Voyagers. It's like a place you can set a reservation, but you got to put up a credit card to hold it. That type of place. They got steak tartare and bone marrow as apps. Like, it's a nice place. But all his investment group in the last month, Jeff, is just going nuts. Like, I don't know that he would even be interested in a full-time job running college football, but who knows the problems and can give an honest opinion better than Nick Saban right now.
Yeah. He's got his pulse, and that's, talking football here today. It's like the politics of it. If you went to 16 teams, it's like the need to put in the James Madisons and the Tulanes of the world. I don't think I think the ultimate, getting out of school, but I just think you're going to have to Big Ten, SEC, and I don't know, figure out, but I think you got to get, what is there, 32 NFL teams? So maybe if you went 48 college programs, and that's who is going to play for the national championship, and then you lower it, that's going to make a lot of folks upset. But it's nonsense, especially today when you can go pay a player and reload. And I mean, Ole Miss, with all the turmoil, and you can't say that didn't affect everything.
Had to.
I mean, just they spanked them boys quick right out of the gate. So,
by the way, shout out to Conan and his Miami Hurricanes. I had a little get together. I was hosting Friday night because there was a big football game, and of course there was a big fight. We'll talk about the fight in a minute, but there was a conversation as we went around the room. Every guy in the room picked Texas A&M except me. I said, I think I'll take Miami. Shout out to the Hurricanes for pulling it off. I love college football. I know we've talked about it a lot, so we'll move on. I'm sure we're going to talk about it again in the coming weeks.
Can we have kind of a last rites or just condolences, or in our nice way? Irish Pat Kenny, you may know him as Simon Diamond.
Mm. Lord bless his heart. You know, he pulls for a team that thinks it's above being in a conference, and then they want to pout and complain when they don't get into the playoffs. It's like, you don't get to have it both ways, like, why don't you just put your big boy pants on, get in the Big Ten,
and then you pour the gas on with the Tulane and JMU results. They've got to be fit to be tied. See, I knew we should have been in there.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. Get with the program, bud. Y'all, I don't understand. Oh, we get our own television deal. We don't have to share. Okay, well, go play your little TV deal.
Shout out Irish Pat Kenny. We love you.
Oh yeah. Hey, Pat's a great guy. It ain't his fault. You know, he was raised a Irish fan. It's not your fault. You were raised a Volunteer. It's not my fault. I was raised a Bammer. It just is what it is.
Oh,
hey, speaking of is what it is, over the weekend, 2 fights happened. I don't know that you saw both of them. I don't know that you saw either of them. We'll start with the one that wasn't as publicized. Andrew Tate, who has been a polarizing figure to say the least in the last 5 years. Once upon a time, the most talked about man on the internet, certainly once upon a time, the most hated man on the internet, a former kickboxer, decided to get back in there and mix it up, and he got whooped. And then said afterwards, hey, it's better to try and fail than not try at all. And the very day before that, boy, what a spectacle it was. Anthony Joshua, the former heavyweight champion of the world, fought the YouTuber turned boxer, Jake Paul. And Jake Paul tried to double leg Anthony Joshua to just live through it and fight another day. And he did. But on the way, he got his jaw broken in 2 places and made about $90 million. So we can make fun all we want. We can, oh, I'm glad to see him get beat. Well, he got 2 titanium plates in his jaw and a check for 90 million. What'd you make of this spectacle, Jeff?
Connie, I don't really even know where to start. You know, I don't know that you specifically, in detail know the house layout, but I don't say no interest, but little interest. I just think the Jake Paul shtick has run a little dry, in my opinion. The Tyson thing probably did it for me. That what a spectacle. We'll talk about the money in a second. I'm calling bullshit on that. I think the whole thing is a farce. I think it's smoke and mirrors. You're trying to tell me that fight, a single event, they can pay 180 million for 2 talent. It ain't adding up to me. I don't care if it's a global deal or not, but we'll talk about the money in a second. But the funny part about it is that Cody was so dialed into this, Conrad. I mean, goodness gracious. So we had the football game on Friday night. Anyway, family, Christmas. I'm just trying to think. Oh, my daughter played a ball game at 5. So I got home and we were watching football, whatever. But boy, Cody was all over social media and asking his mom, and Karen goes, you going to watch it? I said, not on my TV. I said, you can put it on wherever. So anyway, ends up in his room, but he didn't fight till Central Time, 10:30 or something like that. So I'd already kind of gone through all my routine and everything. And he's like, Dad, you gonna come here and watch? Anyway, so Conrad, I can say that I sat down in Cody's gaming chair while Karen was on one side of the bed of Codes and Codes was on the other. And he sat there and we watched every bit of it. So it was such and man, I saw on social media the next day, Conrad, I don't know if you've seen it, the side by side of when Joshua was in a competitive fight, mannerisms, his body language, his aggressive, his cadence, just how he just kind of handled himself versus the first 5 rounds of this fight. It was just like, wow. Not a good whizzerker. Wasn't a good word. It was just like comical. And just watching it, I'm just like, this is kind of amazing. And the house didn't look too good, but I'm sure they weren't really worried about that. But if the house ain't real good, I don't know how much the interest was in it. I don't know. Again, I'm so far on the outside looking in, but I'm curious to hear others' feedback or because the double leg dive over and over and over that was kind of half-hearted. Yeah, he was sucking wind and all that, but is that what irritated the guy, or he had enough, or like what possessed him, or was it a big potato that he just laid into him and snapped his jaw? I don't know, but
Jeff,
what? So the jaw ain't broke either, right?
No, the jaw's definitely broke.
You think?
But oh yeah. I mean, he smiled. I don't know that you saw, but he smiled and opened his mouth for the camera afterwards. His teeth are on his tongue. I mean, it was he had to get emergency surgery, but he did it, and everybody knew this was going to happen. It was bound to happen. It was inevitable.
I didn't follow it. Like, did everybody know you're going to get your ass beat?
Well, he lost to Tyson Fury's brother, who's a real boxer. And we all know the Mike Tyson thing, huh?
Who's he? He lost
Jake Paul. Nobody cares about Anthony Joshua. Nobody cares.
Okay.
Jake Paul is the guy who courts attention. And, I say that because my dad, who grew up, raised me in a household where we watched every Michael Moore fight and Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson and George Foreman and, Lennox Lewis. And he's like, now who is this guy? Because, boxing has just fallen off a cliff. So he hasn't kept up with that. Now he knows Deontay Wilder because he's from Alabama. He knows Tyson Fury, that sort of thing. But like Anthony Joshua, he's like, I don't know who that is. But he all knew who Jake Paul is. He's like, he's that little kid on YouTube who runs his mouth. Everybody wants to kick his ass, right? Yes. So I'm just saying, Jeff, this was pro wrestling.
Oh, no, bad pro wrestling. If that, I'm not buying the money.
Well, define bad. A friend of mine always says creative is subjective.
It is 1,000% subjective. It was bad to me.
Well, but Hulk Hogan had bad matches, but he drew a lot of money.
Oh, I agree.
So I'm just saying Jake Paul is the Hulk Hogan of boxing. And that's why he came out wearing Hulk Hogan shit.
I thought that was cool. It's just not me. I was just like, this is not, it was what it was.
I'm disappointed to hear you say that.
Okay.
Because I thought for sure you would be appreciative of the amount of money it generated. How much of that is illusionary marketing is a separate side conversation. I'm with you on that. But did they in that single event outdraw, with the exception of WWE and AEW, every other wrestling promotion for the year combined, maybe?
Here's what I really don't, and I mean that, I don't know. And look, I know that people don't watch the girls' fight was underneath, and there is no doubt in my mind they were told put in time. That was a snooze fest. And so that's where I just wasn't engaged. And the football game's on, and I'm going in and out of Cody's room, and he's on his phone, but they've got it on. And Karen's like, "When's this fight going to come on?" It's not, it's not for me. And so you say how many was truly paid admission? It's Miami. I don't know, Conrad. And those numbers about a combined 160, 80 million.
Well, now let's run through that just so you know, because I don't know that you know this piece. Jake Paul was the promoter, and Anthony Joshua is Jake Paul's fighter. So Jake Paul is the promoter who will make money on subsequent Anthony Joshua fights. So him showcasing a guy who just knocked him out and broke his jaw. Hey, if he's going to get beat, he got beat by a guy he's under contract with.
Yeah, the business acumen from those guys is
unbelievable.
Off the charts.
So that's why I'm surprised you're saying not for you, because it's like I would think if anybody I'm friends with would appreciate. Look at what these boys did out of thin air. That's really impressive.
So
we saw was the Ric Flair's last match of boxing this past Friday night.
You think Jake's done?
No. I'm just saying as far as
a spectacle.
Well, we drew nearly 8,000. Rick always says 8. Sometimes he'll say 9, but it was like 7,700 or whatever it was, with no TV, no prior promotion. I bought a fucking domain, and we hired some people we can't say their name on the show to help shoot a little docuseries, and ta-da, we generated millions of dollars out of nowhere. I was like, look, Jeff's gonna like this shit here.
Okay, maybe that's good. Communication. You can never over communicate. That is an oxymoron. So as far as a viewer, strictly a viewer, not my business cap, not my promoter cap, not any of that, just as a viewer, it's not for me. But so are many things out there, like
The Sopranos.
I was going to say, we could name TV shows, we could name movies, we could name all kinds of things. That wasn't for me because like the investment. Look, and those ladies may be really great athletes, everything, but that stuff, like to sit down and watch. That probably went 25 minutes.
We didn't watch it at all at my house.
Okay, I mean it was a long, gruesome to sit. It just I didn't like that. I thought the first 5 rounds of Jake and that Joshua was just kind of super boring, you know. And I don't want to make it a wrestling analogy, but it was shitty, lazy work that didn't really do anything, super uninspired. It didn't make a lot of sense. And then all of a sudden, I'm curious, like it's the old guy sitting on the front row. That's fake. You know, the Memphis TV announcer. Oh my gosh, there's a series of fake kicks. Whoa, shit, that's a real one. Like, what the blurring of the lines? Like, what? Where did the broken jaw come from? Y'all laid an egg for 5 rounds, and so why did we go ahead and? I don't know, Conrad. As a business spectacle, it blows my mind. It truly is a page in 101. Build it the right way, and the interest will come. And so Jake obviously has a great relationship with Netflix. The business side blows me away. As a viewer, it's not for me.
Well, Real American Freestyle was that Saturday. Once again, Eric Bischoff has a hit on his hands. I don't know that you had a chance to see it, but Wyatt Hendrickson was victorious. Kennedy Blades is a megastar. Real American Freestyle is now in the books. They've got another one coming up in about a month. So I guess a month from now, January 20th, I believe. They'll be back at it again at realamericanfreestyle.com. I think this one's in Florida. Have you had a chance to see any of the Real American Freestyle stuff yet?
Just the stuff online, the highlights online. I was, we'll share later about it, but doing this doc, we got off on a kind of a sidebar conversation in between takes and shoots and all this. And I've started, they were asking me this because they were asking me about, you know what, Conrad, they were asking me about the Tate, just kind of a little bit of everything. And we originally started, I don't know what we did anyway, but we got around to that. And then that came up. And I said, if you ask me, if you have Chael Sonnen really dialed in, I don't think there's anybody better. And I said, there was a reason I wanted him attached, you know, back in the day to Global Force. Chael is, you know, when you think of Jesse the Body, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jerry Lawler, you know, we could go on and on about color guys that really bring a product to another level, that can paint a picture and enhance it. And that's Chael. I just think that Eric and company have made a lot of right moves, even losing, you know, God rest his soul, you know, losing Hulk right before the launch. I mean, that's a hit, but man, oh man, I think Chael is certainly as vital to the success of that product as anybody they have.
I totally agree. I was wrong on the date. It's January 10th, Sunrise, Florida.
Oh,
so realamericanfreestyle.com is where you can check it out. It's on the Fox Nation app too. You can watch Real American Freestyle 1 through 4 right now. It's only like $3 a month or something, but it's a great value. I enjoyed it. I think they got a hit on their hands, and I know that people are ready for us to talk about pro wrestling. We are going to do that today. We're going to talk about a lot of pro wrestling. We got a big AEW pay-per-view coming up, and I can't believe it, but it's happening this weekend. We've also got some Christmas wrestling memories we want to talk about. Mark Marrow posted something I want to get your take on, and a whole lot more. So stay tuned for all that. Real quick, though, I want to brag about our friends over at Blue Chew. I don't know if you've heard about this, but Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking about next level championship belt gold plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation in the #1 chewable ED brand. Let me be clear. This ain't your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the 4-in-1 beast that's setting the gold standard for performance. We're taking 2 ingredients for blood flow to keep that rocket pumping, mixed with apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and body. See, Blue Chew Gold actually dissolves under your tongue, and it works in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. Elevation without hesitation. This is peak passion and peak performance in a single tablet. If your bed could talk after this, it'd be asking for a break. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the promo code MyWorld. That's promo code MyWorld. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Jeff, let's talk about something that Mark Marrow posted over on Facebook this last week that really piqued my interest. He was recapping, and I guess we should clarify and first start with congratulations. Mark Marrow recently married a new woman who I guess is the love of his life, and he's bragging about her every chance he gets on social media, as he should. And I guess he's transitioning to another phase of life. I don't know if he's moving or what's going on, but he's decided to part with a lot of the memorabilia in his wrestling room. And I know a lot of guys, yourself included, have like a fun man cave sort of thing, and you've got some really cool stuff from your days in the wrestling world and some other things that are just barely outside of wrestling, some sponsorships and things that are really fun. But Mark had a similar setup, and he's decided to part ways with a lot of stuff. Like I saw him a few weeks ago sell his original Bad Blaster. So when he came out on WCW as Johnny B. Bad, he'd shoot the confetti into the stands. Well, he found the very first one.
Wow.
I thought that was kind of neat. He also has recently decided to sell his very first contract with Vince McMahon. A lot of people still talk about that contract. Guys like Mick Foley, guys like Stone Cold. It rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because it happened in 1996 on the heels of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash going to WCW. So most would consider that contract to be the very first guaranteed contract in WWF history. It's got Linda McMahon's signature on it. Really, really cool. Find Mark Marrow on Facebook if you want to tag any of these collectibles for your collection. But he made a post about something I thought, hey, this is worth talking about with Jeff. The post said on September 17th, 1995, Johnny B. Bad faced Brian Pillman at WCW Fall Brawl. Brian and I wrestled many times before, but we never really clicked. We weren't friends, just two professionals doing our jobs. That night changed everything. We were given 30 minutes in the opening match, which was almost unheard of. Knowing how important that opportunity was, we went to the WCW power plant, worked through every detail, and actually wrote the match out together. For the first time, we were completely in sync. That evening, Brian and I became friends, and it turned into one of the best matches I ever had. The match was widely praised as a technical gem with great pacing, athleticism, and intensity. I won with a crossbody pin, earning a shot at Sting for the U.S. title. What makes this even more special is that I recently found the original match layout on official WCW letterhead while going through my wrestling memorabilia. A powerful reminder of how preparation, trust, and one moment can change everything. Thank you, Brian. I think that's kind of cool. This is about 6 months before Mark Marrow went and signed with Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation, and you got to assume that the powers that be may have seen this match. But to see the match laid out in such detail on WCW letterhead, if you're watching along with us over at myworldpod.com, you should be. But it says, first 15 minutes, number 1, lock up, roll around, clean break. Number 2, lock up. I give Brian a quick arm drag. It goes all the way down 36 steps. And then it says finish, duck the clothesline, cross body. This is really cool. A lot of wrestling fans have heard that this sort of thing exists, but they've never seen it. Allegedly, guys like Randy Macho Man Savage were very meticulous, and they would detail everything out. I know that some guys in the WWF sort of mocked and ridiculed DDP for doing the exact same thing. I think history would say that it's proven out that this became the new way. I know that a lot of folks who grew up with calling it in the ring still hate this and don't like it and would stomp their foot. And I get that. But I think the story's out there that a lot of the performers today, they do have meticulous preparation and walkthroughs. And I mean, I've heard old timers say, man, they spent an hour prepping for a 6-minute match or whatever. So you've sort of lived through all of that, the call it in the ring way. And now this more modern, hey, we're going to sort of plan everything. So I wanted to just present this to you as an interested listener from Huntsville, Alabama, to say, Jeff, how common was this? And what do you make of this step 1, step 2, step 36? Did you ever do this? Do you have any of that from your career tucked away in your storage?
You know, our business I guess you could say the evolution of it, Conrad, is that it was so private when I started in 86. But Conrad, when I started, I still heard the complaints of, oh my God, the marks know everything. Nothing's kept secret. It's kayfabe's dead. I mean, when I started, heels and baby faces were forbidden from really riding together unless a real emergency situation. I know some people listening to this cannot even fathom that. I mean, it's just like a head shaker. But so, you know, the walking into an arena, let me say this: walking into an armory or a high school gym, the norm was these are spot shows that you went to the ring, and that's the first time that you ever talked to your opponent. All you really knew was, hey, this guy's going over with his finish or a sunset or whatever. And so that was kind of, as you said, the start point, that there were certainly no match notes or anything like that. To and the business, and here's where I've had these conversations with some overseas folks that are really dialed in on, I guess you could say, the distribution of it, like the history of it. And I go back to studio wrestling in the 80s was how the business was done. And when Vince went national and then WCW kind of followed suit, I call it the syndicated era, that everything was posted. And you know, so there was almost very little live wrestling. Late 80s, it was, you know, Saturday Night Main Event, but just the communication and laying out the matches really changed with Raw and Nitro, because then it's a TV first product. And when Raw and Nitro took precedence, then all of a sudden you got to hit your times, and you go from having whatever 3 or 4 matches per hour with backstage and all that. I mean, it's truly a TV product. That to me is when everything really changed. Again, that was me 7 years into the business, but that is when I have always personally, and I learned this at basketball camps. Coach Don Meyer used to coach Lipscomb University, went on to one of the winningest coaches in all of college basketball. But Conrad, I was probably 5th grade, 6th grade, going into his basketball camp, and they hand you a ball and they hand you a notepad. I'll never forget the speech. I heard it 4 or 5 years in a row because I went to camp every year. But just the ingrained that you write something down, it's ingrained in you. You know, you remember it 22 times more, and to teach is to learn twice. And you're teaching all this kind of stuff about note take. So I started that really from sports, but then that was in my academics. Note take. I do that to this day. But but going back on the private side of the business, Conrad, I've always taken notes in the Memphis days, out to Dallas, but they were for me, and I would always rip them up after the match, or maybe sometimes even before the match. But I always took notes for me to kind of organize my thoughts. And you know, some people in the family will joke with me or about my bullet point system. That's how I kind of frame things and work through things. But go through the years, and then, you know, DDP, to talk about him, is when I sound like Ricky Morton. No, the first time I won the world title in Chicago, DDP, it was that kind of rebirth, and Eric and Russo had really put a lot of faith in us, and I wanted to have a great match, and DDP did too. But that stylus, that T-Mobile phone, he had that, and he had written it all out, and it was like, okay. But, you know, in my mind, I had it in my brain. I took my personal notes right through it. But I've always written notes, and I feel like I'm rambling here, Conrad, but it's just truly the evolution of the business. It's the secrecy and the close, and everybody kind of shares a difference, but the business has just radically changed. And as we are moving into 2026, and we can talk about whatever, or what we see on that look, you know, just the lack of house shows or non-televised professional wrestling. Everything is in front of a camera. Even independence, it's filmed now and everything. It is almost, I can't say mandatory because you're still going to have that, but man, if you don't really organize and put your thoughts on paper that you're going to go tell a story on something, they don't have to be 36 steps like this. Pretty cool that we're going back to the mid 90s and Mark and Brian did this, but it's always somewhat been done, I believe, once I'll call it Raw and Nitro took off because and that's when the pay-per-views went from once a year, twice a year. That's when things just changed.
Let me ask you, it's a pretty famous story. I don't know, but I know you were there for a lot of this era. Before Nitro, WWE oftentimes, with the exception of a pay-per-view, well, let me just stop right there and I'll start over. The WWF, from what I understand from watching old sheet interviews, reading books, and then looking at like the history of WWE.com or Cage Match and things like that, it felt like the way guys would sort of really dial in their pay-per-view match and make sure that they were ready for a live pay-per-view. So fans are watching from all over the world. It's going to be a video. It's going to be a VHS. It's going to live forever. So they want to make sure that match is perfect. If they weren't working house shows, guys like Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior prior to WrestleMania 6, they would go practice the match in Florida with Pat Patterson and do it over and over again. But for everybody else who had the benefit of working these out on the house shows, it feels like a lot of times they would dial it in and get their match pitch perfect on a house show, and then they would showcase it and share it with the rest of the world live on pay-per-view. And then, of course, the WWF starts doing Raw, and now they've got more and more television, but it's not yet live. They're still taped most of the time, whether it's Superstars or Challenge or what have you. And sometimes they would try something with an enhancement guy, or maybe not an enhancement guy, but the timing was off. Something wasn't great. But the guys in the ring knew, hey, it's not live, it's taped. And we even heard this criticism even like 15, 20 years ago about working on SmackDown when SmackDown wasn't live, that you had the luxury of, hey, well, we can fix it in post. So there's a pretty famous story that Scott Hall would do a move, and if something didn't go well and didn't look right, there you go. If we show Jeff again full screen, he would stand up and look right at the hard cam, Scott Hall, and just point like, hey, this is take two.
Yep.
To make sure that they had to edit this out and they had to get the right one. Tell me about that, Jeff.
If he's in a real good mood, he'd go like the Hollywood, he did that. That was almost a Scott special, but that is the transition time. And like when you're talking about, and that is something that, man, oh man, I was doing some research for the pod and I was looking at different matches and stuff like that. But Conrad, when I think about me and Shawn Michaels match, or me and Razor's match, or even 1, 2, 3, the hair match, or all the pay-per-view matches back in the, I'll call it the 90s, in that, and Scott specifically, but Scott and Shawn, A match, B match, or C match. C match is much more walk and talk, but your last 5 to 7 minutes of the match, you really go all out, and the people in Three Rivers, Quebec, got a hell of a show because the last 3, 5, 7 minutes of match were really, really good. But that is how the transition from calling it in the ring to let's sit down and work out a house show match, and you have different parts of it. But when you get to pay-per-view, you have everything in there combined, A, B, C, D, and then we're going to put in a new wrinkle here and a new wrinkle here. And then Pat's going to come at about 3 PM and said, what do you think about if we did it this way? And then you add another wrinkle in there and the drama. And then all of a sudden that's really the cadence of, it's just a different era, but that is the kind of the evolution, if you will, before all the note taking was almost company wide. It was the house shows were the reps that you learned to develop the chemistry and really the match layouts.
I think that's interesting because you said it, and I know that a lot of our listeners may not have jumped on it immediately, but it really changed as far as laying it out perfectly like this with the creation of Nitro, because now you're going to be live every week and there's not going to be that, hey, we can fix it in post as a backup plan. So if you don't have that safety net, you need to be more particular in laying it out. Now, I know I'm asking you to pull the curtain all the way back now, but photos have leaked, and so this isn't necessarily news. But I think a lot of our listeners know that before doors open, the guys and gals who are going to be on the show, not in their full gear usually, just in street clothes and some athletic shoes, will jump in the ring and just sort of walk through, almost like if you played football, you knew that you would have full pad practice, and then you would have just helmets and shoulder pads. And then other times you might just wear a helmet and you're just literally walking through. You know, on this play, you're going to block the guy that way. On that play, you're going to block the guy this way. I've seen guys, I shouldn't say seen, that wouldn't be fair. Fans have heard that that sort of thing happens today. Was that always in place, or did it first just become, hey, let's huddle up in the back and we're going to just lay it out and map it out? When did it become, we're going to go do it in the ring before doors open? When did that become commonplace, just walking through it all?
That's a good question. I've jumped into kind of my TNA days. So definitely in the 90s, because I've got a real thought and a cadence to the Asylum days. But kind of going back before that, you know, you run those big arenas, Conrad, and I'll say in the 90s, they were still okay. Heels, and I may not be. This is an interesting podcast. If I was a fan of, or I am a fan of basketball, I'd love to hear this type podcast. You know, Michael Jordan just did a clip about he was a rookie, and after the game they won, and he went to the hotel, and they were partying, and he knocked on a door. He thought they were just going to be playing cards and smoke cigars. Knocked on the door. Nobody answered. Knocked on the door. Nobody answered. He knew he's in the right place. Knocked on the door again. They said, "Hey, who is it?" He said, "It's MJ." And he opened the door and he said, "I saw things that I'd never seen in my life before. But I said no thanks and walked away." And he said, "Had I got into that culture, I don't know if I'd been the player I've become." But anyway, we're really getting into the inside of the business. Reason I don't know where I came up with that thought. But that being said, Conrad, it's like in the 90s, heels and baby faces rode together. We traveled in airplanes. We went out to dinner. Yeah, we did all that because it was the grind that we were all in. But at work, at the building, somewhere in the 90s, we went from, hey, here's the ushers and the ticket takers and the people in the building and this and that. We're not going to get up in the ring and just rehearse this shit in front of everybody. But there was plenty of that going on. And that is something that, like, I can, you know, I always think back to my WCW days, bouncing back and forth in between that. And Conrad, just the difference in the two companies, like a radical difference in that WWF, that's obviously what they were called at the time, like the specific camera shots, you know, we go in from camera 3 to camera 4 to camera 5, and then we definitely need a hard camera, you know, the high one. Let's go camera 2 there. Just we're going to frame this, and okay, at that point, somebody's being sent from the back, but don't pick him up because he needs to come in. It's like the real intricacies of the TV product. And look, Kevin Dunn, Vince McMahon were sat up at the kind of the very top of the, obviously, of the mountain of this whole thing. And their insistence and kind of by osmosis, you know, some guys used to call it back in the day, Titan training, Titan mindset, but just thinking things through. Like we used to do this house show spot with, wasn't even a cordless mic. It was still had a cord to it, and how Scott Hall would get the mic by the bell keeper and we're going to nail it. Well, when we got to a pay-per-view, okay, we need to reposition that because, okay, is it still a cordless mic? Yeah, but we need this camera to pick it up. Just kind of the thought process of all that. So I'll call it kind of in the 90s, Conrad, the thought process was we've already really talked about this in the back and thought through it. Some had notes, some didn't. But the reason we were doing that was for the TV shots, all for the TV, all for the pacing, all for the timing to pick it up. Some people did it to get the right camera shots. Other folks did it. So, hey, man, I don't want to take somebody's head off here. So get this shot so I don't potato them, or just those kind of things. So that was kind of the 90s. And then as I got into the 2000s, I'm just, my experience at TNA, and I know that things really picked up, when Brian Road Dogg, he ran rehearsals. There's different folks that have ran it through the years, because when you're running rehearsals, you got to be able to talk truck language, wrestling language. It all kind of ends up blend one and the same. But the impact that it has on the TV product it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. But Conrad, what question did I answer your question?
Well, I just wanted to know, when did it change from we're going to write it down in the back to we're going to walk through like a dress rehearsal?
Well, your analogy that you just used of, hey boys, helmets and pads, and we're hitting today. That's that is all the way down to we're going to do helmets and pads and pants, but we're not hitting today. But it was still a very physical practice, to the walkthrough, to literally just helmets, no pads, no nothing. And it's not even a half speed. It's everything done walk. I think that's a pretty fair assessment, in that just over gradual time, it's done. That's where we're at. And, big shows. I'm just trying to think, in 2018, 19, when I went back up there, and the rehearsals, and you'd go to Stanford and different things. And then the big shows, you have a ring. If it's a stadium show, you have a ring
at the hotel.
Yeah, or a hotel, all that kind of stuff. So it's just, I think there's been a gradual progression of all of it.
Well, listen, I know that there's a lot of people who are firmly entrenched in the old school. I don't know that you're necessarily that guy.
Oh,
but do you have a preference? I mean, do you understand it? I know that there's a lot of guys who sort of mock the time and preparation that is spent into having a good performance, and they think that it's silly or foolish or whatever. But you've been a part of that culture now. And so whether you like it or you don't, hey, this is kind of the new way, and this is the expectation. And if you're going to be a good teammate, because that is what wrestling locker rooms are, like, I know once upon a time it didn't feel that way because people were paid based on where they were on the card. It's not exactly that way now. Everybody's got guaranteed money, so you're not really battling for spots. I mean, you are a little bit, but it's not like, oh, my pay is going to be up in the air based on this match 2 weeks from now. You know what you're getting 2 weeks from now. But I'm wondering, did you prefer it the old way? Do you understand the new way? Do you have a strong opinion either way?
I think I've got a very strong opinion, like super strong opinion. It's like, I used to chuckle, and my dad would say, who the F are we working? Are you working yourself? You've worked yourself into, like, what is wrong with folks? Anyway, I say that to say, here, I'll give you kind of an example. 2002, 2003, 2004, even when we went to Orlando, Conrad, because I was wearing so many different hats, that there has been, like, the Raven match, that I was thinking of notes, like, man, I wish I would have saved that. Different matches, especially during the Asylum. We had a 2-hour pay-per-view, and I knew that I had in-ring stuff, whether it's a promo or a match, but also had, there were many of those 2-hour pay-per-views that I was a talent, creative, and whether it was Russo, somebody was doing kind of the talking segments, but I was, Scott Demore, we finally hired him. He was really the first agent. Dutch had gone back to Puerto Rico, so I was wearing all the different hats. I knew that, but what I did was, on Tuesday nights, I would go downstairs. We've remodeled now, but there was a little small bedroom. I'd shut the door, Conrad, and there was a time in my life that if I went into a hotel room, the little notepads, like I got a notepad right here, but the little notepads, I got them all because that's how I did it. And I would write things out, and I would write the cadence, not numbers like Johnny B. Bad did, like Mark did and Brad did, but I would write everything out and kind of my shorthand and think through it and go back for it. One time, Bob Ryder stopped by the house. He had to do something, and I didn't hear him come in. They let him in the front door, comes in, got to know the house, but go downstairs. All of a sudden, and I hear his name, and I'm like, what the hell? That's Bob. Anyway, so I opened the door in the bedroom downstairs. I said, what's up? He's like, oh, something dropping buttons. I said, what are you doing down here? He said, it's dark and you've just got the light on. So anyway, I turned all the lights off, but it was like 9 o'clock at night. I was going through it. So those little things, I've always done that. And I just think if you don't do that, you're lazy. You're not really putting thought into it. I just think at the end of the day, we are performers. And if you can't really come, how do I say this? If I don't have in my mind as a performer, and I think this can go for all modern day folks, if you don't really have how you're going to go from A to B to C to Z to get all the way to Z on your match, if you don't really have that in your brain, then you're never going to be able to work. And what I mean by that is it's what happens in the dash. It's what happens in the pauses. It's what happens in the cadence. If you're trying to connect the dots, and that's where the polished performers in today's world, I believe you can just, it sets everything apart. A John Cena, a Cody. I think Orange Cassidy's very good at this because he'll do his high spots, but then he'll get his character work in. There's, I think Samoa Joe comes from that school in that, Joe doesn't do 15,000 different things and all this, but man, a guy dive off and he walks away. It's the things you do outside of the high spots and all that kind of stuff. That's what draws money. Always has and always will. And so in today's athletic world, you've got to have A to B to C to D to E, F, G. You got to have all that. So the only way you have that is coming prepared and really coming prepared. And I mean, you can't come prepared enough for that stuff. And then you got to figure out how you're going to work in your character, because that's where the dance happens. That's where the magic happens. That's where the money's drawn, is that you're playing off. You never know how the crowd's going to react. You got an idea, but if they're really on fire and you feel the need to really roll with it, you can only do that if you're truly prepared.
I love learning wrestling from you. Tell a friend, hit the subscribe button, and send them this link. This is good stuff, Jeff. I greatly appreciate all the time talking about Mark Marrow's discovery and the dialogue that it brought about here on the show.
So let me ask you something, because when you get me going on this, what is it called? Continual learner. Why do you think guys today don't come prepared?
I think there has been, there's a lot of people who think that, if you really care, you're not cool. You're not supposed to do your hair or prepare or dress a certain way. You're a nerd. If you're putting in effort, you're just a nerd.
I got you.
And I think that, that's always been sort of the case. Oh, you got 100 on your calculus test. You're a nerd. Well, the guys who said that to me cut my grass now, which is cool. I mean, I wasn't gonna cut the shit, and I got enough money to pay somebody to do it. So thank you. But I'm just saying there's this anti-nerd bias. And I think that, prep is for losers. When you're really good enough, when you really got enough talent, and it's like, listen to Tom Brady talk about football. Cool. Tom Brady would tell you he knew their defense better than they did, and he knew what they were going to do before they did it. And it was because he studied. And this is the most successful of all time. And it was because he was a nerd and he was paying attention. And I don't think knowing your business or being prepared, like anything worth doing is worth doing right. And I think there's a lot of other people who think, no, I'm just physically gifted. I'm just, I have this God-given talent. Well, you may, But imagine if you put some preparation behind it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Johnny Manziel was real big on preparation. I think Tom Brady was. So
Yeah.
there's
Okay. That's the simple answer. And it's not like it's a new revelation. You really painted the picture out there. It's happened over and over and over. People really never change. Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. Well said, Connie.
also too, like a guy like Ric Flair, who we all sort of know, like, and trust to be one of the best of all time. He was the best of all time because he was wrestling in front of a different audience 300 nights a year. So he could do the same thing tonight that he did last night because he's playing the hits. And I know that, Bret Hart at different times has been critical of that and said he was a routine man. But when Ric Flair first started wrestling, everything he did wasn't televised, but everything that everybody does is televised now. So even today, you'll see a modern match happen on WWE or AEW, and then someone will post a side by side of where they have borrowed from an old Bret Hart, Sean Waltman match or whatever, and it is shot for shot, move for move, the exact same. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm just saying you didn't have that opportunity back in the 70s and 80s like you do now. And so it's evolved. And I think what you could get away with in football in the 70s and 80s and now is different. So basketball's different, football's different. Why shouldn't wrestling be different? And I know that there's a lot of people online who stomp their foot and say, "Oh, this shouldn't be." I got a lot of heat last week, Jeff. I don't know if you saw, but Cody Rhodes did a fabulous podcast with John Cena, and people are always critical of those two because they think they're trying to be PR guys because they're trying to have a higher level conversation about concepts rather than just shooting from the hip and being controversial. And they're more measured in their speech every now and again. And I can appreciate that, especially at the level they're playing at right now. But one of the comments that I thought was interesting is because I thought it was really nice to hear John Cena explain his last match and why he did what he did and all that stuff. But one of the comments was, "Please bring back kayfabe." And I said, "Well, that's actually kind of easy. Kayfabe's right where you left it. It's offline. So if you'll log off social media and don't visit any wrestling sites and just watch Raw and SmackDown and just watch Collision and Dynamite and just watch NXT and TNA, just the main show, not the pre-show, not the post-show, not the little pop-up behind the scenes. But if you're just watching the show, you can get lost in the characters and believe it. But if you go looking for stuff of, hey, I wonder what Cody ate today. Did he take Libby down to Disney? Well, you're going to find that on social media, and that may take you out of it that he went to The Rock's movie premiere. But if you were just watching Raw, you may not have seen that. So I think, you find what you're looking for. And there are people, myself included, I'm only going to enjoy the product now if I have access to all the other stuff. I don't think I could just sit down and watch Raw and SmackDown and that be it. In order for me to enjoy wrestling in 2025, I need all this other stuff. I need podcasts. I need books. I want social media. I want rumor and innuendo. That has become a part of my fandom. But for the people who hate it, I think it's still right where you left it. Just
I love it.
stop doing it and just watch the show and you'll enjoy it, right?
But what's crazy is I love the post, but where you post it is where kayfabe will never be again.
No,
I get it. It's so beautiful how you put it, but it's and I hate to say it because it just goes across everything. And I'm not just saying wrestling, it's sports.
yes.
Hard Knocks gives you a different slant, but man, oh man, it's this. And then, yeah, just all
the
that.
ESPN talking heads, just watch the games.
Yeah.
My dad just watches the games. He doesn't watch Paul Feinbaum. He doesn't watch all the ESPN talking head stuff. He's not in his office right now listening to sports talk radio. He just watches the games and he has a blast and he loves it and he looks forward to the next one.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't know.
It's oh, Connie. We get into some in-depth conversations and it's a different age. It is a different era, a different age. There's different barometers. It's what the measure of success was in the 70s changed in the 80s. It's not like, oh man, this is all new revolutionary. No, The measure of success in the 70s changed in the 80s, and the same to the 90s and the 2000s. It's not going to slow down. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube, pal.
Well, let's talk about the 80s, because I do want to talk a little bit about Christmas and wrestling on Christmas. And I know that, we're not going to have a forever long show. As you're listening to this, it's Christmas Eve's Eve, and I'm sure a lot of us have got a bunch of things to do with family today in preparation for the big holiday. But I wanted to talk about wrestling on Christmas night. And boy, you were doing that on Christmas night, 1988.
Wow.
I think this would have been, was this your first Christmas night show? You started in 86. I don't think you worked on Christmas night in 86 or 87. If you did, you may have been at the matches, but not at a show. Was this the first time you were in the ring on Christmas night? Do you think 88?
And I think the research shows like this was a really big deal because I was in Dallas. It wasn't like, because I got the luxury on Thanksgiving and Christmas many a time to at least wake up in my house on Christmas Day. But
no, in 88, you were in Nashville. 89, you were in Tennessee, in
okay.
Texas.
Well, then there you go. So,
but let me, matter of fact, let me ask you this. In my research, wasn't there a huge tornado on Christmas Eve in 88 and just devastated part of Nashville, and you still did a show the next day on Christmas Day?
Wow, what research? Man.
I saw just absolute devastation and candlelight vigils, and I guess some folks got pretty damn decimated on Christmas Eve in Nashville in 88.
Wow.
But the very next day, the Continental Wrestling Association, your dad's promotion, is running at the fairgrounds, the Nashville Fairgrounds. And look at this card from 88, guys. On the undercard, you've got Scott Steiner beating the Grim Reaper. You've got Sid Vicious beating Brian Lee. You've got Dutch Mantell teaming with Ricky Morton to take on the Rock and Roll RPMs.
Wow.
You've got Wendell Cooley and Jimmy Golden. Jimmy Golden is Bunkhouse Buck for you WCW fans. You've got Beauty and the Beast in a tag match against Jeff Jarrett and Tracy Smothers. Then you've got a coal miner's glove and a bot on a pole match. I don't even know what that is. Maybe it's bat. Bill Dundee and Robert Fuller, and then the big battle royal. But man, for 88, that's pretty loaded. Let's run through it. Scott Steiner, Sid Vicious, Brian Lee, Dutch Mantell, Ricky Morton, Bunkhouse Buck, Jeff Jarrett, Tracy Smothers, Bill Dundee, and Robert Fuller. You got 10 stars that most of our listeners are familiar with in 88. That's pretty big.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't. Wow. God, just how, man. The first time when I hear that complete card, damn, I feel lucky. I mean, just I'm a young kid. What am I? 21 in the dressing room. Good Lord have mercy.
But check out the next year. The next year on Christmas, you are in Dallas. This is 89, the one you were thinking about.
Yeah.
And look at this card. The opening match, Matt Bourne. The second match, Dustin Rhodes. The third match, Jeff Jarrett and Billy Travis. The fourth match, this is in Dallas now, Kerry Von Erich. Wow. The fifth match, Kevin Von Erich. And then Jimmy Jack Funk. And then Chris Adams in the main event. But dude, the idea that you've got Jesse Barr, Chris Adams, Kevin and Kerry Von Erich, Jeff Jarrett, Dustin Rhodes, and Matt Bourne. Man, that's a loaded ass card. You had one on Christmas Day in Nashville in 88. The next year in Dallas at the Sportatorium, no less, a famous arena, a who's who. There's two freaking Von Erichs on this card and a young Dustin Rhodes and a young Doink. I mean, these are some loaded ass cards in 88 and 89, Jeff.
You just think, and when I knew we were going to be talking some Christmas shows and all that, and just how much the business, and you'll probably do a better analogy, but you've got Black Friday and Cyber Monday and in retail, all the statistics that if you don't do your business between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's 50% of your year or 60% of the year, whatever it is. It's just a huge, big thing. And, I can remember many, many conversations with my old man in that he had to put a strategy in. Thanksgiving weekend was money, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Holidays, do specials and big cards, maybe raise prices, everything that went with it. But once that weekend was over, until Christmas Day, in a lot of ways, the bottom fell out. You had to lower prices. You had to have kids tickets. You had to reduce the amount of talent on the cards. You had to really think this is kind of one of those rainy day promoters that you have to have the mindset. But man, oh man, you couldn't wait to get till Christmas night. Hopefully there'd be a double shot, but that's you hear different territories in the Carolinas, especially in the heyday of Dallas. But Christmas night is big payoff. And then you have literally up till New Year's Eve, but you have 6 straight nights. If it fell on weekends, you definitely could get double shots in, but it was the biggest weekend of the year. Back in the territory days, I've always heard stories that guys really like to leave territories or start in territories if they could Christmas week, because you kind of had on each side of it not the best. Early January, depending on up north, you could, but then mid-January it picks on up. But just how times have changed, and the money was good and a different era, in so many things, but the importance of Christmas week and kicking it off on Christmas night. But yeah, wow, those cards, both Von Erichs working on Christmas night in '88. That's pretty cool to think.
Hey, let me hit you with this. So we ran through the '88 card in Nashville, phenomenal. We ran through the '89 card in Dallas, but you come back to Dallas 3 days after Christmas, December 28th, 1990, at the Sportatorium, 1,400, got to be a sellout. But do you want to talk about yet another loaded ass card? I don't know why these Christmas cards fascinate me, but check this out. Billy Travis teaming with Jeff Jarrett and Matt Bourne. So you got Jeff Jarrett and Doink, who are going to be feuding internationally on national TV in 3 years.
Matt was over too in Dallas, though.
And who's on the other side? A fella named Steve Austin. The California stud,
Rod
Price.
Yep.
And the dog of war, and that's Buster Fowler. So hey, but either way though, you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, Jeff Jarrett, and Doink in the opening match.
90.
And then we've got the one man gang winning a battle royal, another Hall of Famer. Then we've got Sweet Georgia Brown in singles action. How about this tag match? Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Terry Bam Bam Gordy in the Sportatorium in a tag match. Bill Dundee in a singles match. And then you pull double duty this day. It's you and Eddie Gilbert.
Oh,
but then it's time for the main event. And this is the Sportatorium now. Jerry the King Lawler and Terry Funk. These are 3 unbelievable cards, 88, 89, 90. And it feels like the level of star power gets bigger every time. Like, man, there's something about you working shows around Christmas. Tony, if you're listening, my God, how loaded are these?
That's cool. Stone Cold on there. I was going to take a nice little dig at Lawler. We noticed he didn't drive up from Memphis in '88 to make the Nashville Fairgrounds Christmas night show. But I'm sure it's one of those deals that old man said, "Hey, partner, take off. We've got a loaded card. Look what we have here. Gosh, Dutch and Ricky. That's fun, man. That's just Conrad. You talk about the guy who, hey, I'd like to go back to kayfabe. And I know reps, and we're dealing with a whole different stratosphere. We're dealing with WBD money and Netflix money and ESPN. It is a different business. But when the business was really driven by live events, it was just different. It was a different business, no doubt.
There is no doubt about that at all. Let's talk about how the business changed for you just 3 years after that. Christmas week, we've established, was always pretty big for old Double J. And that's when the world first saw Double J between the ropes. He made his in-ring debut on December 20th, 1993 against PJ Walker. We know him later as Aldo Montoya or Just Incredible. And it was taped a few days after Thanksgiving, November 29th in White Plains, but it actually aired on December 20th. So just a handful of days before Christmas. And you had a lot of big Christmas milestones. We just talked about the big cards in '88 and '89, and certainly a few days later, in 90. But now by 93, here you are on a global platform, the WWF, making your debut. Did you even realize that this Christmas week was so synonymous with your career? Because what a cool day this had to be for you. I know that you were, not necessarily inviting the whole family over to watch. I mean, you're still trying to make towns and all that jazz, but you were off the road. I think their last house show, or it was a challenge taping, was December 15th, and then you get a break until December 26th. So on December 20th, when your in-ring debut happens, just 5 days before Christmas, do you remember it being a big deal, or was it just another day at the office?
Well, in those days, Raw was brand new. And I think they had me start because Raw would be our Monday taping and obviously air on Monday. But Tuesdays was Superstars and Wednesdays was Challenge. And they started me on Superstars. And, we've talked about this, but, signing the contract in October and Bruce Pritchard and Kerwin Selfies, the director, came to Nashville. We ended up shooting, in 2 days, 12 vignettes, 11, and the 12 was a compilation, shooting all that. And it was just such a whirlwind, Conrad. And then they start running. And if you remember, Vince and the conversations, hey, we're going to run these vignettes and then we're going to start you right after Christmas. Didn't really know exactly what that meant, but okay, this is how we're going to lay it out. It was all so new to me and so much, I worked for my old man and wanted to move on to quote unquote greener pastures as a young man and make more money and all that kind of stuff. And then Lawler kind of gets in his situation, and out of the blue, Conrad, they call and say, hey, Lawler can't make these towns. This is in early December of this year. And can you go make, and look, Conrad, I'm working Nashville, Louisville, Evansville, Memphis, Glasgow, and Holly Springs, Mississippi, or whatever. That had been my cadence for 7 years. And all of a sudden I shoot the vignettes and I'm starting up there. Oh, can you go make San Diego, Honolulu, LA, and San Francisco? Yeah. Who you working with? Oh, Brett. What? Like my world was turned upside down right out of the gate. But the paychecks were better, but the exposure, but that Christmas, I knew Kurt Hennig used to make shows here and he would talk about how big the Christmas payoffs are. And, he was around during the Hulkamania years. And he's just like, dude, you get on a double shot when Hulk was hot. And if you got on a double shot Saturday and Sunday, that's 4 paydays. It's just, because the business was in the transformation as far as dollars that you were getting these big house show payoffs. It was just a different era, but man, nothing would incentivize a talent back in those days is, man, let's get on the good Christmas run and go bust our ass because the competition. I was talking to someone not long ago I told him how competitive our industry really is, not about wins and losses, but about truly who's going to be best match of the night, best promo, this and that. There's a real competitive nature. I don't know, and it's just the evolution. I don't know if that competitive nature still exists today like it did in this era. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not the old timer. Just the nature of the beast, the competitiveness is changed. And
that's relative to dollars, don't you think? I mean,
1,000%. It's all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and it's not just wrestling. I mean, these college kids, like if they're super competitive, I want to go win for my team. Well, hell, the Notre Dame, the entire program says, nope, screw it. We ain't even going to the bowl game. Yeah, it's changed. It's just changed.
Well, we like talking about the way wrestling used to be. Before we move on, I do want to briefly mention that your string of Christmas week matches did not stop in 1993 with your Monday Night Raw debut against PJ Walker. You were successful, by God, picking up a win. That's JEFFJARRETT. A few years later, you're trying to become a horseman. And you're led to believe that you are a horseman, but Ric Flair's not there. He's having rotator cuff surgery down with Dr. James Andrews in Birmingham. So you roll into Starrcade in Nashville in 1996. So this is kind of a big deal. We haven't ever really framed it this way, but Starrcade, for a lot of people from the outside looking in, we fans considered Starrcade to be the WCW equivalent of WrestleMania. Now, Eric Bischoff would say to him, it was actually Halloween Havoc. As one of the boys, call it 1996, when you come into WCW, did you think Halloween Havoc was the A show? It's the WrestleMania equal. Well, there's no equal, but it's as close as you can get for WCW. Or did you think it was Starrcade? Because Starrcade was certainly it for Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yeah.
But for WCW in 96, was it Halloween Havoc for you or Starrcade?
It never, Halloween Havoc did not move into my mind the number one show until 99, 2000. And that maybe I learned more, matured as a businessman. Starrcade, you got to, Conrad, the early 80s. I don't know when first Starrcade was, but just that was all
83.
Okay. That was always okay. That's right. In the peak territory across the country. Just we were selling out. Carolinas were great. My God, Kevin and Kerry and all that kind of big business. Watts had a gigantic, super. Those were crazy years. But I always looked at Starrcade as the name of the show had so much brand equity. It was by far the biggest show on the calendar, and for Nashville to get it, God Almighty. Do you have that whole card? Because that was big. Because Nashville,
I do.
Yeah.
It was here's what's cool to me that I love about your career. And I don't even know, I'm really just discovering this with you. Their whole Christmas week thing, such great cards in 88, 89, 90, huge part of your journey to becoming a national or global performer. You make your in-ring debut nationally, globally on Monday Night Raw, December 20th. And then a few years later, here you are in WCW. You've jumped ship now. WCW is clearly the number one company in the world. And where are they holding their absolute biggest card of the year? In downtown Nashville, the same place where you had Ric Flair's last match at Municipal Auditorium. And we start that card with Dean Malenko versus Ultimo Dragon for the Cruiserweight versus the New Japan Crown. Then we've got Akira Hokuto and Medusa for the women's title. Then we've got Rey Mysterio and Jushin Liger. And then we've got, and I can't believe this is real, Chris Benoit and Jeff Jarrett in a no DQ match. Chris Benoit doesn't want you to be a horseman. You think you're supposed to be. Ric Flair is not here. He's the guy who's been advocating for you. At some point, woman starts to interfere. Arn Anderson comes by. He's going to hit you with a DDT. Here comes the rest of the Dungeon of Doom. But somehow, some way, you steal a win. You beat Chris Benoit in your hometown of Nashville on the WCW equivalent of WrestleMania. This is your first Starrcade. And then we see the Outsiders and the Faces of Fear, DDP and Eddie Guerrero, Lex Luger and the Giant. And in the main event, what else would be the main event besides Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper? It was the main event of the very first WrestleMania. By God, it's going to be the main event of the first mega show with WCW firmly in the number one spot, Starrcade 96 in downtown Nashville. Dude, you getting a win over Benoit for the Horseman? Like, that's pretty big to happen at a Starrcade, especially when you consider the historical significance of Starrcade and the Horseman.
If I remember correctly, it was 13 months prior is when me and Sean had our match in that building. That just the whole mega event. How hot, numbers as far as live event attendance. And I know the Atlanta, Hogan, Goldberg, but by 96, weren't live events booming? Yeah, because it had taken off.
It had taken off for sure.
Nitros, yeah. It was, gosh, if I rack my brain here enough, it was my chiropractor that we've had on the show, Tim Adair. I got him tickets. If I sit here and if I have a quick phone call with him, he was amazed. He's like, "Holy shit, dude! you really." I mean, it was big. It was big. Hometown. That's cool, man. That's
It
good.
was a sellout, by the way. There was
Yeah.
8,327 paid. They say there were 9,030 in the building. I believe it, but a total sellout. And I mean,
Hogan
this is
Piper on top.
with the NWO and the big gold belt spray painted. And I mean, even the undercard, people forget Jushin Liger.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Jushin Liger and Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko and Ultimo Dragon. Like, it was really, really fantastic stuff. Of course, let's talk about the next time you're working a Starrcade. Now this is going to be a different era. You're fresh off of your jump to WCW. This is Starrcade 99. But what I think people forget is you did double duty that night. You had kind of a crazy brawl all over the place with Dustin Rhodes. And, you know, there's lots of shenanigans. You know, we're going to be taping referees and hitting people with weapons, and Kurt Henning's going to freely interfere. But you get a win in 11 minutes and 22 seconds. And what feels like 10 minutes later, you're back out there again, this time wrestling Chris Benoit in a ladder match for the U.S. title. And Mike Tenay on commentary immediately afterwards called it Tony Schiavone called it a match of the year. I mean, first of all, how many people get to work a Starrcade, the biggest card of the year? And then secondly, how many get to work it twice in the same night? But you really had to have your working boots on. I mean, you worked the first match in jeans and are doing weapons and taking silly risks and bumps. And now a little while later, well, just go climb that ladder, kid, and wrestle Chris Benoit again. I don't think a lot of people realize you wrestled Chris Benoit twice at Starrcade.
No.
Now you didn't get the win on this one. But still coming fresh off of the WWF run where you felt like you were underutilized. And now here you are back in WCW at their granddaddy pay-per-view, and you're going to work it not once, but twice with Dustin Rhodes. Come on. and Chris Benoit. I mean, this is a real vote of confidence from, for lack of a better word, the powers that be, right?
2 months after I left. The China match was October 16, whatever it was, 16, 17, whatever it is, maybe right during that time. And then 2 months later, and I think it was a Scott Hall issue, U.S. title. I don't know. I'm trying to think why, but I remember vividly, I think Terry Taylor, Kevin Sullivan, Vince Russo. I'm trying to think of the crew that they said, "Hey, man, we just think it's best you work twice." And I'm thinking, so guys, I thought y'all told me. I think because the week before, I'm like, "What am I doing? Back to back?" No. We're going to move up you and Dustin's match earlier in the night. And I'm thinking, oh my God.
By the way, you're right. Scott Hall missed due to a legitimate knee injury. He was supposed to be in a U.S. title match, but with him out, they just hang the belt over the ring and let you and Chris Benoit go do your thing.
And there is no, at this time, there was no second gear, third gear, even a fourth gear with Chris. It was balls to the walls. And I just remember thinking, okay, I've got a damn ladder match after the, yeah. Anyway, Conrad, what a Christmas week of Starrcades. And the next one that
before we get to 2000, do you remember what followed you and Chris Benoit? So they just, after Scott Hall's out with a knee injury, they just award Benoit the belt and he issues an open challenge. You answer it. It's a ladder match. It's phenomenal. Tony Schiavone says it might be match of the year. And then there's one match, the main event of Starrcade 99. Do you remember what it was? Goldberg kicked Bret Hart's head in the third row.
Oh,
the very next match after you and Benoit at the ladder. Isn't that crazy?
Conrad, this has kind of enlightened me. Back to our early conversation about Mero and Brian and being able to rehearse and walk through. Obviously, me and Chris, because it wasn't decided until that day. No walkthrough, no note taking, no nothing. Hey, let's roll. You follow my lead, I follow your lead. One of those things. That's where Chris was so damn damn shame, that story, man, how it ended, but just an incredible performer. But Conrad, that kind of double duty and a ladder match, that stuff just doesn't happen today. I feel lucky to be a part of it, but that stuff just doesn't happen today, I don't think.
We'll talk about it. Your very last Starcade, the very last Starcade was Starcade 2000. As we're recording, it would have been 25 years and 5 days ago. And it was not as interesting as the other ones, but it's Double J.
I'm gonna surprise you, but go ahead.
Double J and the Harris brothers taking on the Filthy Animals, Conan, Kidman, and Ray. By the way, how do you not love? Let's go back one picture, Silva. You got to see this over. You have a Slapnuts bandana around your head, just all time great shit. And then, believe it or not, in the main event, you get interference. It's Scott Steiner and Sid in the main event, and you're gonna make sure that you help your boy Scott Steiner retain. And I think that may actually be the last pay-per-view where we ever saw the last real big gold belt. I think after this they're using Fugazis. I could be wrong, but you said you had something about Starcade 2000. I can't wait to hear what this is.
Just and I'm so glad that the pictures that accompanied, like all the props that
Yes,
the Filthy Animals, and what was it, a bunkhouse match? What was it advertised as?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but anyway, 6-man tag, and it's one of those deals that you go on papers. Jeff and the Harris brothers. Wait a minute, Kidman and Conan and Ray. But I will say this, as Conrad would say, hey folks, go out of your way to watch the last however long we went. I don't feel like we went a long way, but it was layered up. I got to give Kidman
12 minutes and 31 seconds of a 6-man bunkhouse brawl.
Look, we layered it up and built it up and built it up, and built it up. But here, I can't say this is the first time, Conrad, but because there were some nitros, but when the match was over, if you're watching all 6 of us for the very first time, there is no doubt that a wrestling fan or a non-wrestling fan, if they watched that 6-man tag, when they got done, you would go, that freaking Rey Mysterio, he is a uniquely, universally beloved, incredibly charismatic performer. Ray, that night specifically, I remember getting to the back going, damn, Ray's good, because he did all the stuff and he took big bumps and he sold all this, but the people were so with him. It was really cool, because at that time he had been on Nitro, 4 years? That's what I'm saying, is that's the only reason I say it's surprising is that Ray was super over. To that Starcade audience, they got their money's worth out of our match, because Ray kicked all 3 of our asses, and big old boy 6'7" twins. We made Ray, and Ray made us. I'll say that that was a fun match. Not great on paper, but very fun and very entertaining.
Jeff, I hate to hit you with your line to RJ City, but you're lying.
No.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Khan told us a few weeks ago that before Rey Mysterio went to the WWF, he was a nothing.
Bullshit.
No, he was a nothing, Jeff. You're not listening.
I didn't know where you're going with that.
Listen, Nick Khan, you're not listening. Nick Khan said that Rey Mysterio was a nothing. So you're sitting here saying the crowd was going nuts for him, and that's just not true. They weren't. He was a nothing.
Buddy, folks, go out of your way and watch little Ray. He freaking tore. Yeah.
Did you see him this past weekend?
He
tore it up in AAA.
Garetta, yeah, that's it's their December big show. It's their last of the big 5.
Sold out, hanging from the rafters.
Guadalajara.
I think JBL did commentary remotely, and it sounded phenomenal. But you saw Rey Mysterio in there doing stuff in 2025 that you're like, hey, he was doing that in 2000. How is he still doing that in 20? The dude he's cracked the code. Whatever he's doing is working.
Yes, and that's where, like, he just has no peers. And when you look as I call it a kid from Mexico City, generational talent, however you kind of stack the accolades. And when you stand next to Ray, shit, I feel big, but I mean, you just don't really it's hard for people to fathom to like, okay, this guy has wrestled Kevin Nash and it's been super entertaining. That's how good Ray is. You cannot put enough praise on the performer that he is. And
Hey, I
has
want to ask you.
for
Go ahead. Sorry.
30 years, long time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he was on ECW TV in '95. So yeah, 30 years of wrestling.
At the
And
time.
granted, he was young, but still, what a talent, generational talent. We're winding down, as we get closer and closer to the holiday, our Christmas episode with you. And there's been a lot of television stuff through the years, whether it was WWF, WCW, ECW, everybody had a Santa bit. Did you ever have any interactions with a Santa Claus in any of your days and all your wrestling shows? Like, have you ever hit a Santa Claus with a guitar?
I'm sure I have. Nothing comes to mind.
We have to do that next year. Can we agree?
I will say this, that is a Spot Show 101. In the month of December, you put on every window card and bill and you have them appear, and like that was a given. Whoever the card is, and Santa Claus is appearing. No doubt.
What would be better, do you think? You hitting Santa Claus with a guitar, or you being Santa Claus and getting Satnam Singh and Jay Lethal to dress, and Sanjay Dutt to dress up like elves? Because if you did that, we could have maybe the hottest Mrs. Claus ever.
There you
in
go.
The Queen.
There you go.
I could see you being. What do you think? Would you rather hit Santa Claus with a guitar next year or be Santa Claus?
Man, that's a good one. I kind of think I'd rather be Santa.
Instead of ho ho ho, it'd be ha ha ha.
There we go.
Hey, we got to do that next year. You know what? I don't even know that I had the bug to like book a show and run a show, but I think next year we need to run a Christmas week show. We got to get Andy Gillies on it, and we're going to do something.
Buddy.
I mean,
we're looking at it. That's good. He appears Santa at Pigfest.
Oh God, can you imagine? It'd be amazing. Hey, we're winding down. We want to hear from you though, what your favorite wrestling Christmas memories are. Yes. Drop them below. At least for me, I really enjoyed the whole primetime episode where there was a debate about Santa Claus and Roddy Piper and Brother Love and Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. Really fun stuff. And of course, we've all heard Bruce, why have a regular Christmas when you can have a no holds barred Christmas? Super silly, fun stuff. I loved as a teenager seeing Stone Cold Stun Santa Claus. Hilarious stuff. Let us know in the comments below what your favorite Christmas wrestling memories are. Real quick, I want to tell you, life happens fast. 1 minute you're driving home after work, and the next you'll see those flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart skips, your hands tighten on the wheel, and you start asking yourself, what do I do now? That's when you need someone on your side. And with the Legal Buddy app, you can connect with a local attorney in seconds, not hours, not days, but right when you need the help. Whether it's a DWI, a car accident, a criminal charge, or even just a traffic ticket, the Legal Buddy app puts real legal support right in your pocket. Imagine having an attorney on call, ready to guide you through some of life's most stressful moments. This isn't a call center. It's not a waiting game. It's direct access to a lawyer who understands your situation and your community, and one who can step in right away. Think about it. When trouble knocks, do you want to face it alone, or would you rather have the confidence of knowing a professional is already on your side? That's the peace of mind Legal Buddy gives you. And here's how easy it is. Download the Legal Buddy app at legalbuddyapp.com. Register today and use the referral code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Tickets happen. Mistakes happen. But when they do, you don't have to go through it alone. The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download the app today and enter the referral code LEGAL. So, Jeff, as we're winding down the year, I want to tee up some conversation for next week. And I want you to be thinking about this as we are home stretching it here on this week. We've got one last episode this calendar year of My World. And next week, we're going to be talking about the best moments of 2025. Okay. We're also going to be talking about predictions for 2026. And maybe we'll even hear some of Double J's New Year's resolutions. Jeff, do you have anything that springs to mind? What do you think we might be talking about next week?
You know what? The New Year's resolutions, I got, little small personal ones, and we can talk about that. But as far as we're gonna have fun with the moments, but like, what'd you say about 2026? Like the forecast? What'd you say?
Any predictions? Do you have a big, bold, crazy prediction? Like, I don't think a lot of people would have predicted the John Cena heel turn. I think people would have said, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
And you know a thing or two about a thing or two. So I'm curious, do you think next year there's something that you may see that a lot of our listeners don't see? Maybe we could drop that nugget. Let us know below what you think the biggest moments of 2025 were. We'll be scraping YouTube for these. And we want to know, what are your predictions for 2026? Let us know in the comments below. We'll take a look at those comments and we will talk about it next week. But of course, before we get there, we got to brag about the big AEW pay-per-view that's happening this weekend. It's World's End. And once again, Double J is going to be on the pre-show with RJ City and Renee Paquette. Be sure to join them and check it out. You can enjoy the pay-per-view live on HBO Max, on Amazon, on ppv.com, and a whole host of other places. It's World's End 0 Hour, and it's going down this Saturday, December 27th. I'll be tuned in. Can't wait to check it out. I've had a blast watching the Continental Classic, and we are going to have the semifinals and the championship final this Saturday. We've also got the Babes of Wrath, easily the hottest tag team in all of wrestling, taking on Mercedes Moné and Athena. We've got Chris Statlander defending her AEW women's title against Jamie Hayter. And the world championship is a 4-way dance now. Samoa Joe is going to defend against all comers, including Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, and somehow, some way, that Weasley son of a bitch MJF has now got a title shot. I guess technically he earned it, and he's cashing it in, and it's happening this Saturday. Jeff, if you were a betting man, I think we would both agree it's a safe bet that AEW is going to over-deliver on pay-per-view. They always do.
Oh, yeah.
But what match do you think steals the show this weekend?
We were just talking about double duty, and it's guaranteed these Continental Classic matches are dead. The athleticism, Conrad, it's sometimes undescribable. But two guys are working twice. So how do they follow that? One of those two semifinals, obviously, to me, is the front runner to steal the show. But there's always a sleeper, and I don't know who's going to be in those sleepers. I know more matches will be added. I'm with you on the ladies tag title. I think that's picked up quite a bit of interest. I love the teaming of Mercedes and Athena, but the 4-way, Conrad, MJF just eviscerated in his promo from the UK. I was dumbfounded, if you will, that Hangman and Swerve and Joe gave him the floor like they did. So though that match, we'll call it, quite the interest, quite the heat on it, quite it being stirred up. It's
let me run you through the other two, just so you know. The Continental Classic semifinals are Takeshita and Okada, which a lot of people are going to be paying a lot of attention to. And the other one is Kyle Fletcher and John Moxley. So whoever wins between Kyle Fletcher and John Moxley will go on to face the winner of Takeshita Okada. I could be wrong, but I bet it's Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita.
That's my gut right out of the gate. That will be unbelievable.
Who do you think gets the nod there, Takeshita or Kyle Fletcher?
I think Takeshita.
See, I'd go Kyle Fletcher.
Well, and I'm with you as it came out, but yeah, I still go Takeshita. He's on top of his game. He the athleticism. What was it? Revolution, Sting's last match.
Mm-hmm.
Ospreay. I think that was the night you just kind of looked at the. I'm excited to talk on 0 Hour about all of it. I'll just say that because Takeshita, hit his groove. I think him and Okada, I'll say it right now. Takeshita Okada in Chicago is the front runner to steal the show.
We've also got Darby Allin and Gabe Kidd. You may remember Darby Allin got thrown through a flaming table. Well, who set it ablaze? That would be Gabe Kidd. Darby Allin looking for vengeance there. And FTR is going to be in a Chicago street fight against the Bang Bang Gang, Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn. You heard it from Double J here. Takeshita and Okada are going to steal the show. Here's what I know. People are going to be talking about this pay-per-view. It is going to be the most exciting action you can watch this Saturday. Join them on pay-per-view. I know I'm going to be. Double J is going to be there. Tickets are still on sale as well at AEWTIX.com. I want to encourage you to go. If you've never been to an AEW pay-per-view, you will not leave disappointed. And there's a lot of history in that building. The Now Arena, of course, is a very famous arena, and in some cases, an infamous arena. But tickets are on sale now, AEWTIX.com. Jeff, we're just a couple days away from Christmas, man. I hope you and the family have a fantastic Christmas holiday. I'm going to see you through the boob tube this Saturday at AEW World's End, and I'm looking forward to recapping 2025 and making some predictions for 2026 next week here on the show.
I want you to bring a couple too. I want some.
Okay, I can do that.
I want some predictions. I think we need to choose one heel or face turn for next year. Each got to choose.
Okay, I like that. And let us know in the comments who you think is going to be the heel or face turn that everybody's talking about in 2026. Let us know here in the comments right here on myworldpod.com. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications bell, and we'll see you next week right here on My World.
Peace.
Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money your resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.